Hello everyone, it is me again, Penguin21, and today we are going to be talking about Payday 3. Yeah, I know, I'm going to be taking a break from the Salt videos for at least the rest of this week. And I'm going to be probably recording some other Salt videos from other things at some point later, but I wanted to talk about something positive and put some positivity back into the notion of whatever the fuck's happening out there in the world. So, talking about Payday 3. But I'm going to have to be harsh but fair in this context, because Payday 3 is unfortunately mid. And it's a fun mid game, but judging from scores and other things like that, yeah, you can kind of see why I'm making this video. So, what do I personally think of the game? Well, I think that the game is not great, but still pretty solid in what it attempts to do. Now, for those of you who are new to the Payday series for whatever reason, it is a heist-style co-op, up to 4-player co-op heist-style game where you have to break into specific locations, go out and secure the loot, and get in and out pretty quickly. You can do certain missions in stealth, certain missions are allowed, but overall, you will have to be cunning, quick, and know what the fuck you're doing whenever you're doing these sorts of things. So, in essence, Payday 1 was pretty good, if a little bit lackluster in certain aspects. Payday 2 really emphasized and brought up that notion, and actually looked a lot better. Payday 3, well, we're gonna get into that. So, what do you get in with the purchase of the Payday 3 stuff? Well, as of right now, there are only 8 heists and 6 characters. That's it. I think that there are a little bit more heists to be planned for the rest of this year, but starting out with 8 will be very odd. I've already gotten through about half of them, I think. And there are definitely more interesting ones, but, yeah. But the 6 characters are Joy, Pearl, and the original 4 Payday members, hence the term 6. They did get rid of Bane and replaced them with someone else, but if you know the lore of the Payday 2, you'll understand why, so that's not a mark against the game, that's just the thing that I have noted down here, because actually you have a script in this. So despite it being made by the same people, it does feel like a step down overall in terms of quality. For one, graphically, it looks fine, but it doesn't look as stylized or as interesting as as Payday 2 was. There's definitely a noticeable graphical distance between the two games when you put them side by side, but overall, I like how Payday 2 looked. Heck, I even like how Payday 1 looked, despite it looking like you kind of smeared some Vaseline on the lens of your camera. And yeah, movement-wise and the actual gameplay loop-wise are still set in stone and still fine, but the animations and movements feel stiff and kind of not fluid and not as stylized as I would have liked to have seen from these guys. These guys are known for pretty interesting and pretty epic sorts of ways that these just work. So yeah, I mean, it makes some semblance of sense. The guns that you have are some of the most generic, and I don't know how many there are specifically, but there does seem to be, rather than unlocking different sets of guns and having a bunch of different guns as of right now, they seem to have a primary slot and a secondary slot, and that's really it. There isn't much in terms that you can get multiple different styles of guns, and again, that might be up to the fact that we've been spoiled up to this year so far, but there was still a substantial amount of guns at the launch of Payday without many of at the launch of Payday 2 at least, with the amount that they had, so you could really get some interesting things there. The mechanic of still having to buy guns to put them onto your thing is still around, so that is still noticeable, but at the same time, the progression and stuff is very odd. And it looks like there is just one standard progression system that you get to go up through the entire ranks. Then Infamy, I guess you go right back down. But at the same time, there's still a lot of weird and awkward ways that these kinds of work. For example, the new perk system seems to have perk points, just like they were before, but you have to then research and unlock the perks in each of the perk trees to get the next perks, which to me makes very little sense when you're talking about builds and stuff like that. how the original Payday 2 worked, or how I say the original, but how Payday 2 worked is that you had several different tech trees that you could put points into, and you had perk decks that allowed you to have extra perks on top of that, so you could make some very crazy, nasty builds and very specific stealth-oriented ones, leading to things like metas and whatnot. I think they got rid of this to try to get rid of some of those meta points and stuff like that, which I guess makes some sense. But at the same time, I don't like this system. It's an okay system. It's not the end-all, be-all, worst system that you could probably have here. But overall, that system just seems very weird because you have to research and then unlock specific perks to even start to get some of the perks within that perk trees. And I'm unsure how you get more of the same perks within those perk trees. You just have to have them equipped. If so, why would I have all of them equipped? That makes very little sense. Do I have to continue researching specific perk trees? I don't get it. How do these work? Do you have to do specific challenges in order to get specific rewards? That is not really made clear. And yeah, some of the menus are also seemingly uninspired. I know that the GUI is a very awkward thing, but the difference in this is very stark, because here's the difference between the Payday 2 versus Payday 3. In Payday 2, you could select your own contract or whatever on a vast array menu screen that has a bunch of maps and a bunch of different icons and locations and stuff, and that's all really fine and good, and that's all really amazing. But in this one, it's just a list at the bottom that just takes forever to scroll over to the next mission and stuff. What I would recommend is to redo that mission screen entirely, so that way you have the cinematics at one end of the screen, and you have all of the missions on the other end. Because if I wanted to scroll over for about half an hour, I would go over. Ah, shit! Dropped the microphone. If I wanted to go over to do that, no, that is a bad design system to try to get into the next thing. Anything else here? Oh yeah, customization is limited, at least from this is launch day stuff, so again, yeah. But of course there's also launch day server issues, but yeah, overall those are a lot of the negatives there. But to bring this more into some of the positive, I do like how it feels to do a heist in this. I do still like the main gameplay loop, and I still do like how you can still customize your guns and stuff. Unfortunately, one of the things that they got rid of is that you have to do the weapon progression system, much like Call of Duty, which makes some sense so that way you're not like kitting out weapons immediately, completely, and there's at least some grinding involved with that. But again, I much preferred it to where I have to spend the money to get the upgrades that I want, rather than not, and have to like progress a specific weapon to make a specific build. I'd rather have to buy that rather than having to unlock it first and then buy it. At least for the guns, that makes very little sense to me. But overall, there is more that you can do when you're not masked up, which is actually really cool. Some of them can actually be completely done with mask off when you are like tipping banks and stuff like that. That's actually really cool. Like being able to do a mission entirely in stealth. Yeah, that used to be a big accomplishment in this one, but you can do this. You can do missions now without having to ever put on your mask, and that can really be cool. Like for one, there was like a crypto wallet in one of the earlier missions that they will wipe if you don't do that. That one took us several tries, and we never actually got it. Eventually, we were able to complete it, but it had to go loud. But that's still good that they average out those options. The lockpicking has definitely improved. Rather than just getting carpal tunnel holding the whatever the fuck button, it's now more of a skill check type thing, where you have this spinning thing that can kind of pick locks better, and a little progression bar, so you don't have to hold it and you can speed things up as that. That's a definite improvement. That's 100% a definite improvement in my personal opinion. Having to like hold F on everything just freaking sucks. But it's still pretty cool that still is a thing there. The actors definitely feel natural, and the voice acting especially is pretty good. It does seem like that they're older, but I think that's kind of the job that they're going for. Overall, it's okay. The new enemy types of the Grenadier are well thought out. And of course, they bring back all the old classics. The new one is great. They do look pretty. They do look a little bit different and a little bit more like regular cops, which is a little bit of a mark against it. The only one that looks kind of substantially different is the Cloaker, where they have like an actual mesh thing over their face. But most of the other cops, the taser looks the same. But most of the other cops look the same. The biggest one of these trying to look quote unquote more realistic and trying to look like the other cops is the Bulldozer, because the Bulldozer used to look like this big intimidating force with like this huge stylized fucking shit on their thing and have like a mask and stuff and really just look intimidating. Now it just looks like a cop with a lot of extra Kevlar, and that's kind of a step down in my personal opinion. Again, I prefer the stylized stuff, and the medic one especially. Like, I can take down like 3 people that I think are medics, but they won't say the line. So, okay. Maybe they just don't have medics involved in this, or maybe medics are just not around to the difficulties that I'm playing at, because I'm playing on normal and very hard, so I don't think that those types of people spawn. Snipers seem to be more intimidating, but not really if you know how to deal with them, obviously. Tasers, again, are just tasers. The shield guys is a definite improvement in my books, because the shield used to just be a full-on mat-plated thing. And that was pretty okay for what it was. But the biggest thing here is the fact that you can now have a window out on the shield to spray it down from the front to be able to break through and actually get a headshot on him. That's a definite improvement in my book. That's like 100% good. Because it used to be so annoying having to deal with shields, because you had to have like explosives or shield ride it over to the backside and then take him out, because I really think that that's good. Or you can have like I think armor piercing rounds, which could inevitably do the same thing. So overall, new enemy types are okay. Changes to the existing specials work well, but again, it's whatever. The fact that stealth heist is in most heists an option is good, because it can give the stealth players their own thing. There doesn't seem to be much else in terms of that. At least, again, there is no like the jammers and whatnot from the levels that I'm playing at. And you got to remember, I have played about 6 to 7 hours of this game, so this is more of a first impressions and not a full review. But even in that 6 to 7 hours, I feel like I've extracted most of the enjoyment that I will out of this game. It's grabbed me a bit, and I do want to see where it goes. But again, it's not one that I would want to come back to a lot. Kind of some unrelated notes that I just took down here. They got a 69 Metacritic score for at least the PC version. I have no thing there. That's just really funny to me, because it's the funny number. I'm sorry. I have like. You want me to spell it out for you? Cool. Sony people are using it to console war. I would love to cover this, and I'm probably going to cover this in future videos, and I know that I didn't want to talk about this, at least in the pony stuff, so I'm just going to mention it here. But some of the ponies are using this Metacritic score to say this is a mark against Xbox because it's a day one on Game Pass, which, by the way, yes, it's a day one on Game Pass. It's... The stupidity of this is annoying to me. Again, not a mark against the game, but whatever. Overall, the conclusion to this video. Again, that's probably a teaser for the next couple videos or something like that. Anyway, overall, the game seems like it's improved in some areas, but backstepped in others. The graphics are an upgrade in fidelity-wise, but at the cost of movement mechanics and also a little bit of style. And the movement mechanics and stuff that we've come to love. They are still there, and it is still a little bit more floaty, but it feels a little bit more stale and stagnated and pulled back a little bit. You can't just, like, completely and utterly just fucking move around there and whatever, so yeah. The armor works a little bit differently. I didn't mention that, but you have now an armor, like, health bar that actually can regenerate over time. Unless it's completely broken, which honestly, again, that's pretty much the same how it worked in the other one. But they actually have now like armor refills, which is good. and fantastic, and I do hope that they bring back the dodge crit build, which I really hope for, but how the crit and stuff works differently in some weird ways. Give it time for people to make those videos to do stuff. But it's different than that. The enemies are definitely an upgrade and have some very good variety in there, as always, but they are a bit harder to tell them apart in certain aspects now, like medics and things don't seem to be around and like that. Especially, again, with the bulldozer, in that opinion. For all that it's worth, it is a good sequel to the game, but it definitely has some drawbacks and should be hopefully improved upon in the way there it is. However, I will also say it is still a complete launch, which is a pretty big mark in today's age, given how like some of them launch completely buggy and stuff. The only thing that they had is like server issues, and I completely chalked that up to things like Game Pass and people wanting to try out the game before buying it or whatever. So I completely see the ending bits of that there. And I'm not even sure if they launched like simultaneously. But even if they did, like the server issues, I think that it comes down to them having way more players than they could shake a stick at due to the several things. So overall, I again, correct, but also incorrect. But I would definitely say this is a 7 out of 10 for me, maybe even a 6. Because it's good, it's solid, it has a good core that I like, and again, President of FAS Trash is mentioned in the last video, but I can't get behind it. I would much rather play something like, I would much rather play Starfield, which is a single-player experience, than play this game, so yeah. And again, that's not like to say that the game is bad. Overall, I would still recommend it if you're a Payday fan, if you're a Payday purist. But I would say if you are a regular person or you are not as a fanatical Payday fan, I would say wait and sit on this one because Starbreeze, for one thing, is already said that they're going to support this game for the next probably several years. Considering that Payday 2 has around like 10 years worth of content in it at this point, I tend to put my faith that they will improve a lot of this stuff. So again, check the date of the video and understand this is my launch impressions. So yeah, this will also probably be released about a little over a week from the actual launch. But my opinions my opinions don't change from this point onwards. It is a solid game. It definitely falls short in several key areas, bringing the score down in my personal opinion. And the score that it currently has of 69 is nice. So anyway, I think that'll about do it for this video. My name is GamePango21. If you like what it is that I do, links to everything down in the description below. Twitter, YouTube, other sorts of stuff. If you want to hear me do other things other than this, I do try to live stream every weekend. Saturday and Sunday at least. If you can't, you catch me at least Thursdays and Sundays at the most, but my schedule is all over the place, consistently inconsistent. Make sure to check just check everywhere for my stuff. I try to post it, but sometimes pop-ups and things happen because I'm in the DJ. In any case, I've talked your ear off long enough. My name is GamePango21 again. Thank you so much for watching, and a peace off.
You wanna get away, you better get in line. Won't go another day of wasting any time. I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time. Got no filter, I got no filter, no filter.